Hey, tribe. So glad to have you here with us today. It's time to join us for another extraordinary episode featuring a very special guest, Dr. Danita Morales Ramos, also known as Dr. D. She is the founder of Assert Yourself, an incredible mental health and coaching enterprise. We got to bring her to the stage. She's got so many things that we can learn and glean from. Check out the many, many books that she has written herself. Let's go ahead and bring her up. I always forget to drop that thing out there. Hey, Dr. D.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I am well. How are you today?
I am good. I'm good. I'm excited.
I love it. So, as a phenomenal author, what does your day normally look like?
I didn't make out what you said.
Phenomenal author.
Oh, as a phenomenal author. Well, I wear many hats. I'm always writing and creating. Right now, I'm working on a textbook. I study herbalism, and so I'm co-authoring a book that. So I get up about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I write on that, and then I see clients, my coaching clients, the rest of the day.
Ooh, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. So, what would you say is your favorite part of the day?
My favorite part of the day, sorry, I thought I turned all the notifications off. My favorite part of the day is the morning, if I'm honest. The morning time is for me. I get up before I get up before Jesus, I believe sometimes. But I get up, the first thing I do is practice gratitude. Think of five, I mean, literally before I get out of bed, think of 5 things that I'm grateful for, and that just starts my day off great. And I spend time drinking tea, meditating, and then I start creating.
Ooh, super cool. So, when did you what got you to this path? How did you become this version of yourself?
Oh, we must have 3 or 4 podcasts to do to talk about how I became who I am. I honestly don't even know where to start. Let's just start maybe since COVID. Uh,
Mm.
that would probably be a good place. Really for the last 5 years, but I needed to make the best of that particular time, and so I evolved during that time. I grew up, is what I share with people. I really became more self-aware. I know people toss that term around a whole lot, but I became aware of my tendencies. Even though I had written books, right, before the pandemic, I still wasn't really self aware. I had learned some behaviors, but I really didn't know who I was or what have you. So I just got real intentional. 3 years ago, I stopped drinking. And I did that intentionally. I did a little campaign on social media where I said I wasn't going to drink for 90 days because that's something I had promoted in my practice for years, 90 meetings in 90 days. And so I'm like, wait a minute, I'm prescribing this to clients, but I haven't actually done it. So I did it. And then when the 90 days was up, he's like, you know what? Alcohol doesn't serve me anymore. And during that 90 days, I said I wanted to feel all the feels. And so since then, that's pretty much what I've been doing. That's why you see all these books.
Oh man, I absolutely love it. Like, so you may or may not know, but the Fit Goddess Tribe follows the same kind of mental structure. We always try to get people to realize that you have to win the day before you get up, before you get out of the bed. You've got to say to yourself, yo, I'm going to conquer this. I'm going to do this. And not only am I going to do it, I'm going to do it well, which may sometimes look like a little bit of failure, but that's okay because now I've learned something that I don't like and I can move forward. So I hear that a lot of people had this epiphany during COVID. Um, the assert yourself. How did that come about?
Well, my becoming more aware happened during COVID because I'm gonna make the best use of the time I have on this rock. But assert yourself came out of abundance. It came out of abundance because at the age of 26, over 20 years ago, I tried to take my life. And, whenever I start telling this story, I don't even like telling it anymore because it's not who I am anymore. Before it was
Right.
almost like a badge of honor that I wore, that I could say that and I survived, but it's still part of my story. So nonetheless, um, it brought me to therapy. And I had never been to a therapist before. And that's when I said I discovered my voice. Um,
Ooh.
After being in, being in that state and essentially just not being aware that I even had a voice and that the voice I had been using for years was the voice of many people I had come into contact with. I started on this journey where I am now. And so about it's almost 6 years ago now, I started my own business, which is Assert Yourself, mindset coaching and counseling. And I was looking for some materials actually for a client. And the material said, talking about communication, and it
Mm.
said assertive communication. Assert yourself. And I said, that is it. I mean, it spoke to me so loud. And, I've been practicing it. I've been living it ever since because assertive, I don't just do assertive communication. I have an assertive lifestyle because I have a voice. I am a voice.
Ooh, I love it. You are a voice. So what other changes kind of helped you along the way? Because I'm trying to get the question without telling the story, right? There's something else that I believe happened outside of the mental. Was there any other changes that you'd care to share with the audience that helped you along this journey?
I got so many. I mean, you give me a hint. I want
Okay.
to be authentic, but I mean, I don't mind going down any path that you want me to go. But it's a cluster of things that have impacted me. And so people follow my story, and it may be something that stood out to you or somebody else that's watching that's might not be on the front of my radar. So I want to be true to, the concept here, but I'm an open book.
I shaded that. So for us, remember, fitness is always the thing. I
Mhm.
remember that you didn't look the way you do now.
Ah, okay. All right. I'm a little slow with that right there. Yes. And it's funny because I was just telling my daughter this yesterday that I'm not that person. Yes. So there's been a small Dr. D, big Dr. D, small Dr. D, big Dr. D, and then this has been a Dr. D since 2016. I'll tell you why that did not come to the forefront of my mind, although I do use that to speak to audience because that wasn't my deeper issue. It was only
Mm.
what people saw on the outside, and I thought that was my issue. So when I was younger, we could call us big boned or whatever, I was already always like about 150 pounds, which wasn't a problem. I mean, some people like a little meat on their body.
Okay.
After I got older and had kids, I became overweight. And also, as my mental health stuff was going on, in car accidents and not being able to move and chronic pain, I'd gotten up to the most I got to was 268 pounds. But before I had my surgery, I was 238 pounds. So it took me 10 years to decide to get the surgery. But when I got the surgery, I made a huge decision. I said, the doctor told me, he said, this is just a tool. And I said, well, if I'm gonna let somebody cut on me, I'm gonna have to figure this thing out. And so after I lost the weight, the doctor asked me how much weight I wanted to lose. I said, all of it. Then I said, no, if I'm being, I did tell him that, but I said, if I'm being honest, I said, if I lose 50 pounds, I'll be happy with that. If I lose 70, that'll be great. Well, and this is how you and I end up crossing paths. So after I before I had the surgery, I lost 30 pounds doing something so simple, so simple. I simplified it. D like simple. I say dumb it down for me. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna walk. I got me one of them little fancy watches and stuff. And I was like, they say walk 10,000 steps a day. So the first day I put the watch on, I noticed I only did like 2,000 steps. I said, oh my God. It's going to take a while. So I made it simple for myself. I said, every day I'm going to increase 500 steps. And within a few weeks, I was at that 10,000. And I worked 4 days a week, 10 hours a day. So you're like, when did I have time for that? Whenever I had and I worked at a call center then. Whenever I had a break, we had 2 15-minute breaks and a half an hour break. I would walk 15 minutes, walk around the building. If it was nice outside, I would walk in the building. So you would see Dr. D walking around, everybody else look, and I didn't care. I was walking because I was determined to do that. So fast forward, after I had the surgery, I had some complications, had to get another little procedure done, but then I was on my way and I was already being active because I had to make a lifestyle change. So instead of saying, oh, I'm just going to lose this weight, I understood that it takes 4 to 6 weeks to develop a new habit and 9 months to a year to develop a lifestyle change. So I was creating a lifestyle change. And that lifestyle change included, my diet, but as well as my exercise, which is how we crossed paths at the studio. And I also, my kids were getting older and I was having a little empty nest. So I was also discovering things that I had put aside or never done before. And I started dancing. So I was just very, very active. But the crux of this is what you're trying to get to is, so I lost over 100 pounds. And I still kept the weight off. I measure myself every day. I still do the same habits. But I looked in the mirror one day when I had lost about 70-ish. And I said, oh, you're ugly. And in that moment is when I became aware that I wasn't a body. I'm in a body. And from that point, I said, oh, because I was telling myself, and this was a matter of seconds, that I got to go get the surgery back. I don't like the, it was in that moment that I said I had to start learning to love the person within. And this is who you see today, sweetie.
That is absolutely, I love it when somebody else says the same thing that I preach to people all day. When it's not just me, when that's how we become a tribe of people. That's why, another reason I wanted you on the show, because I know your story, and outside of how that guided you to become who you are today, that's the whole mission of the Fit Goddess Tribe, is to be like, hey, if you get fit, the
Right.
things that will come from that mental clarity, that physical clarity, meaning you don't have all this extra things in your body and you're just allowing your body to do what it naturally is supposed to do, the person that you can become, because you don't know how good you're designed to feel.
Yes.
Man, you said that, sister. So you could possibly potentially say that your work focuses on helping individuals transform or transition from victims to victors. What would you say are some of the key strategies that or practices that you recommend for someone who is looking to make this transformation?
You have to change your story. You have to change. That's why I said, I was like, hey, tell me what you want me to talk about, because my story is not the same. My story before, I didn't even realize at the time, was the most victimized story. And it was past tense. I look at trauma as past tense. Somebody come in my office and they say things like, "I says, what did you seek in counseling for?" And they say, to unpack my trauma. And I said, well, where is it? Where's this trauma? And they said, well, I said, no, I don't know. What do you mean? Well, and so people walking around with these stories, I got to unpack my trauma. I wasn't necessarily walking around saying unpack my trauma, because in my community, we didn't even talk about mental health as much as I was bragging about how much trauma I had been through and had overcome. But really what I was doing was I had developed a defense mechanism so that nobody would find out I'd already told them. So the first thing is to change your story. Stop telling yourself your mom and daddy didn't do this for you, that's why you like this. Stop telling yourself because somebody took advantage of you 5 minutes ago or 50 years ago that you're in the state that you're in right now. We are the most powerful individuals on the face of this earth, right? Organisms, rather, should I say. We're the most powerful things. We are able to create. You can create a story to tell yourself that you can be defeated. And then you can also create a story that says you're a winner and a champion.
Say that. Sheesh.
It's that simple. It's that simple. I mean, I can give lots of tools and tricks, but if you can't change your story, simple. Yes, yes. If you can't change your story, then everything else is impossible. And so I say our language is indicative of our thinking process. So that's why the story changes is important, because we had this board meeting in our head, right? And if that board meeting ain't saying, Dr. D, you know what, you got this. I love what you said about, you see yourself through the day. And I'm so accustomed to doing certain things. I didn't even mention to you that part of after my gratitude is visualization. I see myself through the day. I don't know all the challenges that I'm going to have,
Correct.
But I see me getting through the day and accomplishing the tasks I have. You know why? Because my story is different, right? Then you also have to be willing to be emotionally mature. What I found that is the most significant problem with mental health is people are emotionally immature. And it's not their fault, right? You get on social media, you get on the internet, you watch the TV, and everyone says you're a victim. So after a while, people start to believe it. So it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to improve your quality of life.
That part. Now, you openly share your successes and failures on social media and other platforms to encourage people to one, seek mental health treatment. Um, what motivated you to be so transparent with what impact you have and you know what you've seen from sharing your experiences?
The thing of it is, you can't change who and what you are. Before my transformation, I was already outspoken. Like I said, I would talk about my victimhood, openly. So why not openly share the transformation? Because that's not who I am anymore. And even if I was, no one has a heaven or hell to put me in, right? So I share openly because outside of what I just shared, I share openly because I said I got my voice back at 26. And when that lady showed me that, it came to me one, my purpose, but how many people out there knew that if they just rediscovered their voice, that they could free themselves. They wouldn't need medication, right? My schedule wouldn't stay booked. Dr. D could just write books, right? And so I openly share it because I honestly do not care if you think because this, that, and the other happened to me when I grew up or last week or my 2 marriages ago. I mean, I can go down the list if that makes you think differently of me. But what I do care about is helping people to have a better quality of life.
Mm. And see, that transparency does something. It makes us one more human, but it makes us more relatable. It's a phenomenal tool. I use it all the time, even in fitness. I like you. I share my story to be like, hey, this was hard for me too. And matter of fact, it's still hard for me. Just because I can do push-ups doesn't mean that they don't hurt.
Right.
It just means that I'm more conditioned to tolerating or enduring that pain for whatever time frame that I want to subject myself to that workout. So you're a published author and a global motivational speaker. Make sure we hear that, global motivational speaker. How would you say you use these platforms to inspire and empower others? And what messages do you aim to convey through your books and speeches?
If I remember the first question correctly, I am the same person on every platform, in my office, in my free time, and everywhere. So I think that answers number.
Yeah.
I mean, tell the truth. The same Dr. D you see here, is this the Dr. D you saw at the studio?
That's right.
Dr. D dance and shake and all that, but I'm not sugarcoating nothing. The message you hear over and over again is about quality of life. It really is, because quality of life is abundance, right? Imagine you having a limited amount of time and wasting it on what people think about you. Imagine you having a limited amount of time and you still angry, right? I saw somebody recently, they in their 60s, they still mad at their mama who dead and gone, right? That's not quality of life, right? Imagine somebody taking advantage of you sexually, right? Parent, relative, a stranger, right? And you still paying for a crime that you didn't commit, right? Because that person took advantage of you. I honestly believe that if more people, you don't have to have a doctorate degree, okay? Only reason why I have all these degrees is because the government says I needed it in order to practice who I am and to make money. But you don't have to have a degree to share your story that can help somebody improve their quality of life. That's my message.
That's so beautiful, yo. That is so beautiful.
My language, if you haven't noticed, has gotten so much short on social media. Before, I would talk and talk and talk because I felt like I'm very verbose. I am chatty. But I realized that the clearer I get on my message, the shorter it takes me to convey it. You don't need a lot. It's a lot of times when we saying a lot of stuff, we talking around the subject. The thing of it is you can let go of whatever it is that's bothering you. You can let go of whatever it is that's holding you down and keeping you, whether it's weight, right? Whether it's a raggedy ass relationship. Okay. I hope you told these people that sometimes I use choice words.
You already know. Listen, we got a whole nother show that we're going to have you back on, our Fit to Heal podcast.
Okay.
Where we talk about things like that.
Yeah, you can let all of this stuff go because it's nowhere but in your language, in your imagination, and in your vision process. Imagine you envisioning yourself being the best wife, being the best friend, being the best mom, or the best husband, the best business owner, the best body, right? You will have, and you make a decision, because you got to make a decision. A lot of people wish, and you make a decision to execute on that vision. You no longer.
I'm saying it's that simple and that difficult, right? Because it's a constant effort every single day to do.
You have to stay present. You have to stay present. The problem with individuals, they time travel. You know, we go into the past. You time travel to the past, right? Worried about what you should have did, how it happened, or you time travel to your imagined scary future because you think you know what's going to happen. When you just stay in the now, that's quality of life right there.
That part. That part. So speaking of quality of life, right? You coach high performing entrepreneurs and professionals to overcome mental barriers that may hinder their relationships of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
But would you mind sharing with us some common challenges that these types of individuals face and perhaps some strategies that you employ to help them create healthy and fulfilling personal lives?
Yeah. So the funny part about that is I started this entrepreneur journey, right? Went from side hustling to actually becoming an entrepreneur. I got around many successful entrepreneurs, tons of them. Just go down my feed, okay? And I was shocked because I was in a new environment, right? So I thought people that had money had like just money challenges. I didn't realize that they had normal people challenges, right? That was my ignorance. And what I found is, in all seriousness, is why they were ruthlessly committed to my clients, right? Ruthlessly committed to creating enterprises. They didn't know how to create relationship and maintain it, right? And so I'm like, because when I was in these spaces, I said, well, darn, I don't know how I can help any of these people because they got it all. Then I start listening to their stories. I'm like, these people got self-esteem issues? These people got marital problems? I'm like, okay, I'm in the right space. And so believe it or not, it's just that they've taken so much time in creating different things that they neglected other things that are important to them. And so as I share in the book, How to Overcome Burnout, I go ahead and give you the cheat codes. I teach them to focus on their values, right? That's it. They're going to still make their money, but if they focus on their values, everything will be prioritized like it's supposed to. I told you I'm giving y'all the crib sheet version today. Oh my goodness.
Man, you got some great experiences, like, and I love how you are candid with all of them, but like I said, you are who you are at all times. Um, how do you maintain your own mental well-being while dedicating so much time and energy to empowering others? Because it's something that as I head down this path with you, it is a definite balance between, am I giving too much, or how do I pour more into myself? Are there any self practices that you use or rituals that you find helpful?
Everything in moderation. I know people have heard that. And that this 5-year journey has been up and down. Like I started and was like, oh, when I'm gonna be successful, when I realized it's just a broad term. And then I had like this success, whatever the hell that means. And I was overwhelmed by it. I mean, I literally felt like a famous person, if that means anything, because I couldn't go anywhere without people saying, Dr. D, Dr. D, Dr. D, Dr. D. Like I'd never been that seen before. And in being seen like that, people think because I'm outspoken that I'm not an introvert. I am very introverted. I like my alone time. I'd like to be around people at times. And so I didn't realize that like people, when I travel all over the country and world, that like people wanted a piece of that. And while I was honored, I was also overwhelmed. And so what I did was do the exact thing I put in my book. See, all those books, while people buy them, are really reminders to my future self, right? And so, how to overcome burnout gave me. I wrote down the blueprint for myself. Okay, when stuff you start getting overwhelmed, what you need to do. So I pulled back. As a matter of fact, being transparent, last year, I mean, the last 2 years. Getting, COVID got my years mixed up. So we in 2000, from 2001 to June of 2020 to June of last year, my life was like in hyper speed. And so before that, I had every quarter, I would take little breaks from things. Well, I figured because I'm traveling, I'm on breaks all the time. No, that was work. And then that's when I got overwhelmed by the success and everything. And I literally took a sabbatical. That's why if you go down my feed, you don't see 300 videos a day over the last year. I still posted content, but what I did was reprioritize my life back on values. And my first value, first and foremost, is acceptance. And what I had to accept was I needed to do a discipline just like I did when I lost weight, that I can maintain the things that maintain my mental and physical health, as well as maintain my enterprises. So I took a step back and got that up and running. That's why you the first one that got me to speak because I'm ready. I'm ready again to get into that space.
Ooh, I love it. So everybody famous does go on these kind of hiatuses to kind of recoup, and I just want to make a nod to the fact that recovery is a huge part of success.
Right.
Um, so with that, what are your future goals and aspirations for Assert Yourself? How do you plan to continue making a positive impact on individuals in the upcoming years?
Global.
Mm.
Global. I left organized ministry in 2016 because I knew I was being stifled by the church. Um, only seeing a few people. I'm like, my ministry bigger than that, right? Because the message is my purpose in life. I know my purpose, right? Is to edify and motivate people. And I do that well. I can't edify and motivate people in a box. And so my life goal, one of my life goals anyway, is to continue this global message of empowerment, this global message of quality of life. And it's not just about mental health. That's how I evolved. It started with mental health, but now it's the whole person. It's the whole person. You're mute on my.
I can't wait to hear. I can't wait to see what comes next. You know, I always stay tuned. I was like, oh snap, she got another book out. Wait a minute, I got to talk to her. Now we got a really good question from the chat. They want to know, how do you separate your personal space from your professional space, and how hard do you find it to set boundaries?
My short answer, I tell everybody, I don't piss in my own backyard. That's it. When people ask, I don't piss in my own backyard. See, where I earn my bread and butter is where I earn my bread and butter. Right? Where I sleep and lay my head in space is intimate space. What I find in a lot of, so I have two aspects of one of my enterprises, which is Assert Yourself. I do counseling, I do coaching. My coaching clients don't have this problem so much. It's more of my therapy clients. They be mixing that personal and professional. This is two different clients. See, entrepreneurs already know if you trying to build an enterprise, you ain't got time to be playing in that space. But people who like still work in the work environment, they kind of play house sometimes at work, right? Or I don't even want to take your show there, but I'm just saying, don't piss in your own backyard. Keep things in their appropriate places, right? I'm not saying you can't really have friends at work or date somebody at work. I wouldn't, right? Well, you mess around, you get mad with your friend, you get mad with your man, your lady at work. Now you don't know if they're gonna come to work and act stupid. I've seen this as a supervisor working in corporate America, people dating, having work husbands and work wives. So my suggestion is to not piss in your own backyard. And when you say, do I find it hard to set boundaries? That's an absolute no. I've been called the queen of boundaries, and I just gave you a simple one right there.
I absolutely love it. So, Dr. D, I want to be mindful of your time. Those are all the main questions that we had for you. So, before we let you go, can you tell the tribe, let's say, 3 of your favorite books that you've written or whatever, where the best place to find them? You know, we always like to promote group economics. So, if you know a Black-owned bookstore that you can point them to, please direct them that way. And 3 simple things they can do to assert themselves. That was a lot. Don't worry, I'll bring it back for you.
Okay. Well, the economic store is me. I am the store, honey. I am the store. I honestly don't have a favorite book, unless I'm talking about the one I'm writing now, because it's the version of me. But what I can say is just give you like a little snapshot of each book. The first one is my memoir. It's essentially my autobiography. That was me coming into myself, right? That's from the voice of a fractured mind, Speak Loud. And then I also wrote a companion journal with that because I was waiting for the publishing. And then I was like, I'm bored. I need to do something. And I'm like, well, how else can I help the people? So I made a companion journal. It's the guided journal. So getting both of them can help you. And this is literally the reports I get from all my clients that get it. They say, Dr. D, I could like literally hear you talking while I'm reading the book. Then I got a lot of questions in the different networking groups that I'm in about boundaries. So I wrote the book, Boundaries Are for Bullies. While I love the book, one of my friends, I get several friends or colleagues, whatever you want to tell to read everything. They said, I like that one, but I love the first one. They said that they felt like that was more raw. So as I went back and looked, I think Boundaries Are for Bullies is good if you just want it kind of simple and you want me to take it a little easy on you, right? But if you really want the slap in the face with the boundaries, you get the book Burnout, How to Overcome Burnout. And I saved this last one is the one about sexual trauma. I'm telling you right now, if you're sensitive, if you ain't had your own therapy and you think you might have a breakdown, don't read that book. Only read that book if you want to change your life and you no longer want to be bound to the effects from sexual trauma. Only read that book if you want to recreate your story and rebuild intimacy with yourself and you want to learn how to date with intention. Only read that book for that reason, because it's so many things in there that you would get offended by, because it's going to challenge your reality, that I wouldn't recommend you get that unless you want to change the course of your life. And then the last one is for my ladies that do want to intentionally date. It tells you how to stop trying to chase a man and learn how to attract one.
Ooh, ooh, I might need that one. I don't chase, I attract. That's the song that's going around nowadays, huh?
My
But
brain,
Dr. D, I am so excited to have you on this show.
huh?
I will be contacting you, as you see it at the top, maybe right or left hand corner, right? It says our show Fit to Heal. That's me and my mom. We go on live every Monday. I keep saying the gods are coming, right? We're getting ready. June is next month. We're going to be celebrating and discussing a lot of things dealing with healing, especially Black men in our families that need. So again, super great to have you. I'm gonna put you backstage. I'm gonna do the closeout. Yes, and I'll be right with you. Cool.
Okay. Thank you for having me on,
Of
sweetie.
course.
All right.
Hey, Tribe, it was such a great time here today with you and the Empowerment Bookstore. We are so glad that you were able to join us. I hope you stay tuned. We do have another show today with another phenomenal author. Like I said, the gods are coming. Minister Zumbi, you've seen him on Fit to Heal and Get On Code a bunch of times for his book, GOAT. That is the Gospel of Afronomics Theology, a 21st century blueprint to economic power for us. Yes. So I can't wait to see you again later. Stay tuned and stay cool. We'll check you soon.